Coming up on TekThing, Lastpass versus Authy versus Duo versus Google. We're talking authentication here. Earbuds from Focal, One More, and Sennheiser. Where should I upscale? And a new use for plaster of Paris. All coming up on TekThing. If you get something useful out of this episode of TekThing, please consider contributing to the show at patreon.com/TekThing. We're brought to you by viewers just like you. Thank you so much.
I'm Shannon Morse.
And I'm Patrick Norton.
And this is TekThing, where we make technology behave.
Yes. Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. I'm going on vacation in a week, so we are pre-recording this episode, and my hair is purple.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I like it.
Yes, it is. I'm trying to do the whole, like, Phineas and Ferb. Yes. Yes, we are.
Oh, okay. I've never watched that.
It's okay. I'm not doing it right anyway. LastPass, Authy, Duo, Google Authenticator. I don't usually think of LastPass as being a two-factor authentication tool.
They weren't.
They weren't.
Yeah, so
New feature.
LastPass just decided to make this LastPass Authenticator app, which you can use to tie in with your LastPass account.
Cool.
So you can do 2FA on your own account through their own app now, or you can use it to authenticate with other accounts. Now, I thought this was really relevant because last week we talked about all those different password features. We talked about two-factor authentication, hardware options. So this week I wanted to do a roundup of Authenticator apps that you can use on your phone.
If you missed the show last week, and it was amazing, it was all about passwords, or it drove you insane because it was all about passwords and password management. Two-factor authentication means there's your password and something else you have to get access to your account. So if you have an ATM card, I'm not pulling mine out because you'll look at the numbers and make my life a miserable hell, someone out there. But basically the idea is a PIN code with your ATM card, that's the second factor of authentication. If you are on Google, you probably use a text message to your phone to enter in a number that Google sent you, and that's your second factor of authentication.
Exactly. So turns out there are quite a few two-factor authentication apps out there, so I wanted to just name off the top 4 most popular ones. Obviously there are others, but these are the 4 that I wanted to go ahead and compare between each other. So all of these are free to use. They're available for iOS and Android. There are 2 that are available for Windows Phone, and all of them allow you to set up two-factor authentication on your phone for online accounts like Facebook and Twitter and Google or wherever you want to by scanning a QR code from the computer onto your phone, which ties it in, or you can manually enter a code which will also tie in your account. So the first one that I wanted to talk about is LastPass. So this one's available for iOS, for Android, and for Windows Phone.
Huh.
I know, they did a Windows Phone version. Good on them.
Both of you out there using Windows Phone.
Yeah.
Finally.
For both of you, yes. So this is the LastPass Authenticator. It is a free installation. You can set up fingerprint or PIN codes to access the two-factor authentication app. So what that means is you have to have either your fingerprint or your PIN to actually even enter the application itself.
Got it.
You won't have any access if you are not the person that originally set it up.
Or if somebody cuts your fingers off or tortures the PIN code out of you.
Let's hope that doesn't happen. It's very quick, it's very simple, it's quite painless. There are no fingers being cut off in this case. It doesn't require a registration, but if you do register a LastPass Authenticator with your LastPass account, you can then use it to log in with two-factor authentication to your LastPass account. So you can enter your vault with two-factor the LastPass Authenticator.
So it's not actually built into LastPass. It is
Right,
another
it's totally
tool
separate.
under the LastPass name.
Yeah, exactly. So you can read a whole bunch about it right over here. They give a rundown of how to use it, how to enable it with your account and everything there. Again, it's free. It's very easy to use. Now, I don't use this personally because it is putting your password vault and your two-factor authentication with one company, which I'm very skeptical about doing, so I don't do that.
2 is 1, 1 is none, which we like to say around here a lot. If you lose your password, are you SOL, to use a highly technical term, or will they send you a message or something?
So if you have lost your phone, which does happen, luckily you can set up a text message to go to a backup phone number. So if you know that you're going to get a new phone with your same phone number immediately, then you can set it up to send you a text message on that phone.
But if you're getting
or
a
if you have
temporary
Google Voice,
phone,
that would be very useful. Have a backup Google Voice number and then have the text message sent to that instead.
Just remember to use your Google Voice number every so often because they'll erase it and reassign it if you don't.
Use it all the time. So the second one is called Authy. It's for iOS and Android, no Windows Phone. It is also free, which is very handy. This one registers with your phone number and your email address, and then it verifies your phone number with a code before you sign up. So it sends you a text code. Now, Authy stores an encrypted copy of your two-factor authentication accounts. So if you lose your phone, you have an automated backup in their cloud. It allows you to copy to the clipboard, which is very handy. I believe most of them do this. Some of them might not, but for the most case, most of the applications do allow you to copy to a clipboard. It does allow multi-device configuration. I really like this. The fact that if you're working at a company and all of you need access to the same Twitter account, like a TekThing Twitter account, we can set up two-factor authentication and both of us could sign in with our separate devices.
Nice.
Isn't that cool? I was like, that's great for companies. That's
really
so awesome.
Cool.
And then you can also set it up for a PIN code with Authy itself, so you would have to have a PIN code to enter the app, and it does let you use Touch ID for iOS users. Not us guys, not us Androids.
I'm on an Android phone. It doesn't have Touch ID.
No Touch ID for us, unfortunately.
Perhaps
but again,
that's a feature that's coming in the future.
Yeah, so that one's pretty cool. The third one is called Duo. That one's for iOS or Android and Windows as well. It is also free for personal use. So if you're just going to use this as a two-factor authentication app, super free. If you want to use this like with your business website to set up two-factor authentication on your company's website, then you got to pay money. So a little bit different there. They're totally touting the business thing. But
$3 per user per month seems reasonable.
Yeah, it does. So if you own a company, it's entirely feasible for you to use this. So Duo can send you push notifications from the app if a site or an app requests a login code for two-factor authentication.
I like that.
Yay! And you simply press approve to authenticate the app and log in. So you don't have to manually type in the code into the website to get it to log in. That's pretty cool. So Duo allows you to authenticate with your fingerprint as well, which is super handy. I love the whole fingerprint authentication, even though it's not as secure as having a PIN instead, because police can totally make you put in your fingerprint, which is so messed up. So
certain companies, they can probably get you to say your 6-digit code.
Yeah, they probably could. I want it. Now, there is no backup or a restore option on Duo Mobile, which means if you lose your phone, you best have a backup option on the website that you plan to use two-factor authentication on, because you're kind of screwed in that case.
Ouch.
So yeah, keep that in mind. And then you can find all the information about Duo over at duo.com/pricing, especially if you intend to use it for a company. And last off,
grandmama of them all.
The grandmama, the old school one. So Google Authenticator.
This was the first time I sort of recognized two-factor authentication as being a thing that was going to be a part of my life on my phone and the internet and stuff.
So Google Authenticator is the one that I use currently. However, I did test all of these, and I'm kind of feeling like I want to change. But Google Authenticator is free. It's also for iOS or Android, no Windows Phone. It's very, very simple, really easy to use. Your codes rotate. All of them generally do, based on a time code. And they can also be resynced, which I've never had to do. But if for some reason your phone loses the time code, you can resync it. Now, since losing your phone can be a hassle, Google has understood this. They have 10 backup codes that you can print and store just in case you lose your two-factor authentication code. Or you can also set up alternative codes. So you can use either a YubiKey or a second backup, like a text message. So you do have that option too in case you lose your phone. You do have to type in the code to get access to a site. There is no fingerprint or push notification. Hence, it's like the old school one, the one that just got started, or the one that started it all almost. So it is very like OG.
as ridiculous as printing out code sounds, I've run into people who have been in situations where like their phone battery died or they couldn't get a signal and they needed to log into something, and having that code, made it possible. I was also, we were talking about, I couldn't get onto Amazon last week because I went to do my two-factor authentication and the text messages weren't coming through, but it allowed me to do, I had a secondary 2FA, which was Google Authenticator.
Yeah, it's nice to have that backup as long as you keep that backup secure. That's very important.
6.5 hours later, I got 3 Amazon codes.
Oh, man.
3 different Amazon codes like vomited up on my phone at 9 o'clock at night. I'm like, oh, those are the ones that didn't arrive 6.5 hours ago.
So I'll be honest, like after checking out all 4 of these and doing some testing over the weekend, I really think that I'm going to switch to Authy from Google Authenticator. Yeah, I really like the fact that they encrypt their backups. They set up that code so that you can't even access the app before, you know, if you have somehow unlocked my phone, you couldn't access it without my PIN, which makes the two-factor authentication app also have two-factor authentication in a way.
That's pretty
And I
cool.
really appreciate that. So I think that I'm going to switch from Google Authy or Google Authenticator over to Authy. Which I don't necessarily always do. I usually just stick with what I like and I just keep using it.
It feels that much more secure.
It does, yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of my friends in InfoSec use Authy as well. A lot of them use Google Authenticator too, but I think that that'll be the one for me going forward. Yay!
Yay!
Let me know what you guys think, of course. Yeah, you can always tweet us at TekThing or you can email us, ask@tekthing.com.
You've heard us say it. Consider contributing to the show at patreon.com/TekThing. You can donate however much you want per episode, and every little bit counts. Actually, while every little bit counts, the whole donate however much you want is not quite right. Tim wrote in, tried to sign up for a little bit. Patreon said I must contribute $1. Patrick said 50 cents would work, but no. Hey Tim, my apologies. Thanks to your email, I now know that Patreon changed their policy at the end of 2015. Here's the deal. Quote, the reason is because we don't charge patrons until they've had $1 in pledges made, so people who are pledging a penny were able to access content for 100 paid posts and never really paid anything. It hurt our monthly creators and it hurt the patrons who were paying consistently. That's really cool. Patreon's got our back, and they got your back too. And for what it's worth, you can pledge $1 per episode and cap it at $1 per month. And if I'm doing the math correctly, that's 25 cents per episode, which isn't too bad. I'll be correcting our info in the show next week, Tim, which I just did. Sorry about that, Tim. And hey, is the show worth $1 a month for you? You'll get our build videos and at higher levels, monthly hangouts with Shannon and I. I swear it is incredible fun. And hey, if you can't donate, no worries. Please take the time to send us questions, tips, and to share the show with your friends and family. Giving our videos the thumbs up on YouTube and liking our Facebook page. It all helps keep the show growing and going. Thank you so much for supporting TekThing, no matter how you do it.
3 questions answered, 3 reviews, 3 picks, all in 3 minutes. And this week's rapid fire roundup is... Are you ready, Patrick?
Yes.
I'm ready for this. So these are all $100, $150 earbuds?
Earbuds.
Perfect. I'm excited about this.
This all started with Robert Harrod and I were wandering around the dark corner of CES, and we found these earbuds from One More. These are the triple drivers. One More, the triple drivers. You know, they have this lovely clink, right? There's like a forged aluminum container on this. They have sort of a brushed gold finish. They're pretty crazy they're $100. Okay?
Okay.
This, $100 earbuds, not that impressive, but they have 2 balanced armatures and a dynamic driver for the bass. Now, a dynamic driver is essentially a speaker, right? So there's a big driver in this to do the low end. Balanced armatures are usually found on in-ear monitors costing hundreds of dollars more.
Wow.
Or actually in high-end hearing aids. And what it essentially is, it's a little box. And there's sort of the magnet part of the box, but instead of being a magnet that pushes the diaphragm for the speaker in and out, it's essentially attached to the diaphragm by a lever, which sounds really crazy, but they have a limited frequency range, but they tend to be incredibly accurate and detailed in that frequency range.
Well, that's cool.
So there's a crossover in here and essentially 3 speakers, or a speaker and 2 balanced drivers. Not as clinical or transparent as some earbuds, but they're very, very rich. Vocals, cymbals, and especially bass are great. Lots and lots of accurate bass. I'm not talking about you get in the rental car and the kid from the rental car agency has turned the bass up to 11, right? You've been there. This bass is awesome. The mic works okay. I think the fit and finish is incredible for the price. It's also pretty crazy.
Did you clean these?
Don't put them in your ears.
Okay.
Enjoy the fit and finish and the Kevlar wrapped cables. Good noise blocking. There are 9 sets of tips. 1 comes installed on the earbuds. They've got 4 spare silicone in 4 different sizes, 3 foam tips in 3 different sizes, or 3 pair of foam tips in 3 different sizes. Like I said, Kevlar wrapped cables. If you love like the big old boomy bass on Rage Against the Machine, or bass fiddle on bluegrass, or orchestral music, or cello, I bet these would be sick for orchestra music, which I don't listen to a lot of. $99.99, Amazon.com. They are an incredible bargain.
That's awesome.
I am really impressed by those.
Cool. Next.
Okay, so B&W taught me that speaker companies can make amazing headphones. So I was really curious about Focal. They're French.
Oh, okay.
When I speak French, French people ask me to speak English because I'm that bad. But I was really curious, can Focal Sphears deliver sound like their high-end speakers? This is a very different approach, right? We had triple drivers in the One Mores. These have a single 10.8 millimeter dynamic driver, i.e. a little tiny speaker, or a big speaker for earbud. They're essentially open-backed. You can see on the back of those how there's like a little bit of screen material.
Yes.
So they're kind of semi-open, like high-end over-ear headphones tend to be for audiophiles. They come with 3 sets of memory and foam tips. Nice bass, excellent mids, but man, if you love accurate cymbals and highs, and this is as close, I think, to a big open soundstage as a $150 pair of earbuds are going to get. Well, you know what I mean? Because when you put headphones on, or earbuds, right, the music tends to be right about here, right between your ears. So it's not like you're sitting in front of speakers and going, oh, look at the amazing soundstage, or I can't remember there's a band.
Pink Floyd?
Thank you. The one where like the audio starts like way over there on the right side of that speaker and ends up right. So, you know, these are really open and airy. Like I said, the vocals and highs are especially impressive without being grating or harsh. They're kind of big, like there's an aluminum cap and I think plastic for the driver. No problems fitting them in your ear. They don't fall out of your ear. The remote and mic are separate, which I thought was interesting. So the microphone is up here, and the remote is this like crazy giant single button.
Weird.
You click it once to answer or hang up. You can press it twice to skip forward, or 3 times to skip backwards. Skip's not going to work on all Android phones, but $149. And I was really impressed with the audio on these. These are really nice. I think the One Mores were more fun to listen to, but these were more accurate. And if you are into sort of all of the stuff going on in the high end of the music, especially cymbals on these, fantastic.
Cool.
I am a huge fan of Sennheiser's headphones, or Momentum,
Momentums!
3.
I love Momentums. Those are great.
One of the signatures of Sennheiser Momentums is they're very neutral, right?
Yeah.
They don't, jack up the EQ on the high end. They don't jack up the EQ on the low end. So this was an interesting one for me. It's sort of a mixture of aluminum and plastic. They come in red and black. There's a nice sparkly design. Kind of a classic plastic covered cord, microphone combined with remote down here. They come with 4 sets of tips, extra small through large. By the way, I just got to say this. This is an awesome case that comes with the Sennheiser Momentums, but this insert is an incredible pain in the ass.
Oh, yeah.
Take it out and use the case, right? They come with Android and iOS versions, so the remote works properly. The One More and the Focals, the remote should work on either one.
Cool.
But they actually have model-specific or OS-specific versions for the Sennheiser Momentums. These are very different from the rest of the Momentum lineup, right? It's more of a V. Lots of low end, lots of high end, to the point where vocals and mids can seem recessed on some tracks. So if you're listening to, there's a particular Johnny Cash track I was listening to, and there's nice sparkly guitar, there's a little bit of bass down here, and Johnny seemed to be back here. Like somebody had been like,
weird.
let's just pan him down.
How strange.
Not my favorite, especially given how neutral the Momentum lineup usually is. They're a good deal for $85, but not my favorite from these 3 earbuds. I wish they were as neutral as the rest of the Momentum lineup. They're nice, but once I heard the other 2, I realized kind of how recessed the mids are on those Momentum in earbuds. By the way, the original Momentum over ear, they came out with the Momentum 2.
Those are the ones I'm familiar with.
They are amazing. They are still amazing. They are amazingly cheap now that Momentum 2 has come out, which is mostly about making a bigger ear cup to fit over people with giant ass ears like mine. I have those $20 monoprice dual driver earbuds on order. I'll let you know how they compare.
Cool. Well, of course, you can always let us know what you think. What are your picks? We are always looking for your recommendations. You can email us, ask@tekthing.com.
They all come with cases, too.
I love cases. Should your TV or your Blu-ray player be the one that upscales? We had a viewer question that Robert answered while he was here.
Got a question from Dave S. who writes in, I recently purchased a Denon AVR-X2200W, nice, and loved it, but I noticed that the Denon AVR-X2200W was on sale and I could save money if I returned the 3200 and went with the 2200. Once I purchased and hooked up the new X2200W, I noticed the video 4K processing was not as good as the 3200 on my Samsung JS8500 4K TV. My wife noticed also, which surprised me because she generally could care less about AV stuff. Robert H. said to just let the TV do the upscaling, but it does not look as good as the X3200W. The only setting I noticed on the specs was that the HDMI scaling was at 60-50 Hz compared to 30-25-24 Hz on the lower version receiver, the 2200. Can that really be the reason? Dave S. I love the early days of new specs. In theory, well, okay, so I would put it this way, or my thought. Let me bounce them against you. If you've just bought like the 9800 from Samsung, the top of the line LG OLED 4K, those televisions should scale better than anything else you're going to plug into them right now.
Particularly with 1080p video,
right.
There should be, I've come across very few TVs that have any issues, 4K TVs that have any issues dealing with 1080p video. Now, when you get into some of the lower resolutions where you have to generate more virtual pixels, either for standard definition or for 720p, that's where you can pick out some differences in upscaling capabilities there. But for just like Blu-ray content or content you're receiving from your cable or satellite provider in a 1080p format or 1080i format, that should scale almost perfectly on one of those TVs with the appropriate setup. There are specific settings on all TVs related to dealing with interlaced video, specifically 1080i. That's the one that is the most popular. With a 1080p source, if you're feeding your TV 1080p, you need to make sure you turn on film mode processing because that can help restore a progressive image. Also, too, generally you don't want to take sharpness settings too high, but on some content, sometimes if it wasn't the most pristine thing to begin with, adding a little sharpness is always can help in that respect. Otherwise, you should always run a pass-through mode on your AVR. Generally, I have the AVR do nothing to the video other than extract that audio feed, deliver my sound, and leave all of the video shenanigans to the TV itself.
Got it.
And that generally will give you the best setup quality. So it's tough to say why he would think it was looking better through an AVR. Now, some AVRs are equipped with video processors that do image enhancement. Generally speaking, unless you're dealing with exceptionally large projection screens, don't worry about enhancing video. You just want it as cleanly as possible from your source to the display.
Unmolested, if you will.
Ideally. Otherwise, you get into where I find that no matter how good the enhancement technology is, it is adding information to the video picture that wasn't part of the original signal. So you've got to be just very careful. And there are some great test patterns and things you can look at to help verify is the signal being generally unmolested as it goes from point A to point B. And stick with that. But for AVRs, I think video pass-through is going to be your best option if you're dealing with HD formats to 4K, like I mentioned, 1080p. Just let the TV take care of that. Most TVs won't have a problem with 1080p video. If possible, don't do any pre-processing. Like some set-top boxes will convert everything into one format rather than leave the video in its native original format. So say like you're receiving a mix of standard and high definition channels from your provider, your cable box or whatever, your satellite box is just simply converting everything to one format. So if you can avoid those double conversions or conversion on one box, scaling on another box, that's something worth trying as well. Just leave it to its native mode for whatever the source device is, and then leave it alone as much as possible until it gets to the TV set, and then let the TV take the final charge in terms of doing what it needs to with that video.
Because there's so many ways to screw up video processing inside the TV without having it already pre-screwed up by your AVR.
But that's one oddity though about 1080i video, and 480i too, interlaced video though, is that film mode processing setting on your TV, it usually is grayed out until it receives an interlaced signal. So ideally, go find a 1080i channel. Just make sure it's on, because that really does, especially with things like primetime programming that are really well produced, you'll find that the video will look, arguably, it converts it almost directly back into a 1080p 24 format, just by taking that interlaced video source. And it can look fantastic. And every TV I come across, I haven't seen one probably in about 5 years fail a film mode processing test. So film mode production or film mode processing with your interlaced content is going to look fantastic.
Where do we find more Robert Heron?
HeronFidelity.com or AVXL, avxl.com, and we're also on Twitter, Facebook.
At Robert Heron, at Patrick Norton, at Snubs.
Yes.
And at TekThing. Got some home theater questions? Fire them out. Email ask@tekthing.com. And thank you so much, sir.
My pleasure.
We got an email from Jim who wrote, measuring soil moisture can be done by burying a block of plaster of Paris with 2 wires running parallel and close together. The resistance between the wires will vary as the moisture changes.
Awesome.
I've done this for ecology research. We used ohmmeters, but with an Arduino you could automate a sprinkler. This was way back in the times of IBM 360 and PDP-8, so never tried to automate. I live with 40 inches of rain a year and a brook in the backyard, so have no reason to hack it. From Jim.
We covet your rain, Jim, and I covet
We do.
soil moisture sensing automated drip irrigation for my veggie and fruit trees.
Plaster of Paris.
Little tiny trees in the front yard.
That
They're
is-
dog-sized.
That's really cool.
That is really, really cool. Now I want to
I did not know that you could use this for irrigation.
wonder how far apart the wires have to be.
Oh, I don't know. That's
Does it
good.
matter?
That's a good question.
This is time for a Google search, but rather than Google searching live during your show, let's go to Paul's question.
Paul wrote in, take a look at the K95 RGB. It comes in red and brown keys. I was very lucky and got the blue, which was only out for a short time.
Nice.
This is a full-size keyboard, but just like the K70. Both keyboards are awesome. The crazy programming you can do is amazing. From Paul.
Thanks,
Yay!
Paul.
Yeah, thank you so much, Paul. So we reviewed the Corsair K70 a couple of weeks ago, and this is the K95 RGB. So it not only has, the regular full keyboard, but it also has the G keys on the side, which I believe a lot of my friends use as macro keys for like MMOs. I have never had any use for those G keys, but I absolutely love the K70. I've been using it since we checked it out, and it's super, super, super nice. So
goodness.
of course, if you are into G keys, if you need those for any of your games, yeah, it's awesome. Check it out. So I really like the K70. Highly recommend.
Remember how my IBM Model M broke finally after
yeah.
20 years?
After 20 years.
I found 2 different places to get replacement parts.
Are you serious?
I kid you not.
Wow.
There are still people rebuilding IBM Model
That's
Ms.
so hardcore.
I love that keyboard. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, once in a while, put down the phone, step away from the screen, close the laptop, and do something analog, like sneak into a playground at night and rock those swings.
What?
Like you don't care if you wake up tomorrow.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yes.
Did you ever try to go all the way over?
Yes. It never worked.
Nope.
Don't try to go all the way over on the swings if you're an adult and don't heal well, and if you break your neck, it's not our fault. We warned you. Drunken swinging is no joke, people. Click it or ticket.
Oh my gosh.
Actually, use your seatbelts, people, and don't drive drunk. Brush your teeth, floss, go to the dentist. Don't wait 10 years like I did. You'll get a nasty surprise. I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Shannon Morse.
We'll see you next week on TekThing. You're in Japan! How can you be here?
Japan right now.
Right now you're in Japan and your hair is probably more pale than it is right now.
Yes, most likely. And I have killed a purple Smurf in my bathtub.
Sacrifice the Smurf!
Because that's what happens whenever you dye your hair
Were there
fashion
purple
colors.
Smurfs?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
I thought they were blue Smurfs.
Yeah, they were blue. They were
Is-
always blue.
Okay, I'm just checking. I'm just checking. I'm just thinking about
I
that.
was born in the 80s. Smurfs were like my ballgame.
Even I remember Smurfs. it's Transformers that I never saw until I was in
Transformers? Oh, I watched Transformers.
Can't watch it.
Saturday cartoons, man.
By the time I saw my first episode of Transformers, I was old enough to be like, this is one giant commercial for a crappy toy that my neighbor's kid keeps breaking.
Oh, props to you guys if you were watching not Space Ghost Coast to Coast, but Toonami before Tom. And if you know what I'm talking about, you're awesome.